So, welcome back to this episode. So, anytime you feel that you're bored and you really want to get some comedy and you really want to feel free comedy that is top notch without you paying, then always learn to tune into your Kenyan parliament sessions. At that point, you will see how Edwin Sifuna cooks all these other members of parliament without any difficulty. The likes of Cheragei, the likes of Senator Aron Cheruyiot of Kericho, you see how they debate their points on the floor. And Edwin Sifuna makes them look as if they want to cry because it is always nasty in there. And if you can't handle that heat, then definitely you're going to throw water on someone. So you will always feel them arguing points until they get into their personal matters. Things such as the IQ of another member of parliament, things such as how another member of parliament fared in class, and things such as I am the one who taught you in school. So it is always just a comedy that you cannot miss in that session. So I want to tell you this. If you ever feel that you're bored and you want to watch content that is top notch and that will make you want to continue watching it, then definitely you should always learn to watch what your senators are speaking in parliament. And that is just the senators. I've not even spoken about the members of parliament, because I do feel that the Kenyan parliament is just a bunch of comical people who are there to talk about the different matters that they've done over the week. And it is at that point that I always get mad because, they're supposed to represent the citizens of the country. But in them trying to represent the citizens of the country, they have in kind of a way leaned towards the government. Did you know that your members of parliament are supposed to keep the government in check? But when you look in the Kenyan context, the members of parliament are the government's check. What do I mean? Most of the time, these members of parliament are not interested in matters that affect the normal citizens. I always love the unity, and this one is sarcastic, the unity that they have when they are fighting for matters that do affect them. When you see members of parliament fighting for things such as their salary has not been raised, their allowances have been touched, the CDF has been touched, you will see some unity that you've never seen. But when they're discussing about matters that affect the normal citizens, even most of the time they do not turn up in parliament because they feel maybe this one is not an important issue, this one is not something that we should deliberate on. And you always see that the quorums in the parliament are always low. But let it come to matters that affect them. Matters not only affecting the matter that touch money or matter that touch funds that go to their pockets or to their respective development kits. You will see members of parliament fighting to death just to keep it alive. And I always ask myself, if they had this unity in fighting for matters that do affect the normal citizen, matters such as education, health, matters such as the basic needs, matters such as how are the people standards of living, I mean, we could be in a very developed country. Now, the other day, someone broke up how the government spent more than 4 trillion. And I can tell you this, guys. I can really tell you this. When you look at the Kenyan budget for the past 3 years, it has been more than enough to make development in the country. More than enough. And I can assure you, it has been more than enough. Because look, each year we are allocating more trillions to development. And I'm not speaking about the whole budget. I'm speaking about the development budget. When you take it for the past 3 years, you will find out that it is more than 4 trillion from 2023. It is more than 4 trillion. But look at the development that we have. Does the 4 trillion merit the development that you're seeing in your constituency, in your ward, or around your area? And that is what you realize, that if the members of parliament could be serious, because they're the ones who allocate this money, and they're the ones who are in charge of making sure that the government is doing the right thing with the money. If they could be serious with how they allocate the money, then we could be a far more developed country. But when it comes to our side, the members of parliament are begging the executive. You can see a member of parliament stand up in a rally, in a public rally, saying, Mr. President, we need roads this side. Mr. President, please do us a favor and give us this and this. They know very well, the members of parliament, they know very well that once money is allocated, however much you do try to say, bring money for this and this, there is no money for that. Something that is not in the budget, something that has not been budgeted for, can never be done. And that is how the budget works. That's why in each year they read a budget for specific financial year. So the importance of it is to make sure that if we need something, we plan for it in advance. And you will always wonder, and I look at citizens, the citizens who go to political rallies, they're always, oh, the president came here and promised us roads. I mean, guys, money that wasn't in the budget, or if the project wasn't in the budget, then you should just really understand that it hasn't been planned for and wait for another financial year, then suggest for it to be put in that financial year. But that is one thing that most of you do not understand. You do think that the president or the cabinet secretary has all the power to come and say, okay, from this day on, we are going to build roads in Western region or in Nairobi region or in Nyanza region. It doesn't work that way. But now let us go back to the fact that I was telling you about. Imagine we have had more than 4 trillion for development budget in Kenya. But do you see the development that you want to see? Are we developed, or does the development that you're seeing merit the 4 trillion that you have seen? And I want you to comment in the comment section and tell me. And by the way, before you continue, if you have not liked the show, please like, comment, and subscribe. Do make sure that you do share the show a lot. So guys, if you look at the budget making process, you will realize that we will have been a developed country if we do follow the procedures. Now, Kenya has a lot of laws, and Kenya is one of the countries that just copy-pasted what the American constitution looks like and kept it to the Kenyan people. That is how the Kenyan new constitution was made. We are just a copied constitution of the American constitution. Now, what you should realize is this: we have the best laws. In fact, we have voted to be one of the top constitutions in the world. But the people who have the urge, or who have the momentum, or the people who are at the power of making sure that the constitution, the laws, and the plans are executed, are unable to do it. And they're not unable, they just don't care. They don't care if you make it or not. What hurts Africa most, or what hurts Kenya most, is the fact that most of the leaders, when they're looking for seats, they do always think that they're looking for the seats to benefit themselves. And that is where they go wrong, because imagine if everyone had that urge to make sure that, okay, I come from Kenya and I want Kenya to become a great country. Imagine if everyone had that urge. Then we could be a very developed country, one that everyone would wish to be in, one that everyone would wish to take part in. But because most of the people don't have the urge to lead Kenya into a first world country, rather they only have the urge to lead themselves into richness, then we find ourselves in a difficult position where we can't develop at the rate at which we should be developing. Now, there is one thing that happens. People in charge always build one bigger project, and it's one, let's say the SGR or the Nairobi Expressway, that blindfolds a lot of people, and they're like, wow, that is a mega project. Look at how amazing it looks. But the reality is that project just takes a pinch of the development money. And if you look at these projects, most of the time, they are never ending. We are always paying loans. We paying loans, and the projects never seem to end. And in however much you are paying the loans, you always hear clauses such as, the constructors will collect the fare or will collect the money until they return back their money. Some clauses that are just cheekish. And that is why I'm urging Kenyan people. If you are looking for a position of leadership, then at least try to make sure that you have the will and you have everything that is needed to develop the country into one of the most developed countries, or if not, a better country. I am urging you to do that. Now, let us go back to our Senate or our National Assembly. Anytime you listen to the National Assembly, they are always yapping about personal needs. Most of the time, when they're discussing the bills, and I watch it at a very close rate, because I'm a lover of watching how the parliament operates, because I always had the wish that one day I'll be a member of parliament. No, so it kept me watching. When you watch at what happens in those parliaments, all you will see are people trying to talk about personal matters. And when you look at the quorum that attends parliament sessions, most of the time, the parliament sessions are never attended to the fullest. You will see, in Senate, you can see 15 people, 20 people, and you wonder, are these the same people that we do pay a salary of 1 million plus bonuses? You wonder, it makes you wonder each and every time, because you do not understand how the most paid people in the country are the ones that are lazy to do their job. I've never understood that. Hardworking people such as teachers, doctors, engineers, nurses, and what have you are paid peanuts. But the people at the top, who go there once, who go there just for fun, and when they go there, they're not discussing about matters that do affect the normal citizens at the rate at which they should be discussing them, are busy getting millions of shillings. And what made me wonder was this. I wonder that even with the high amount of money that we do pay our members of parliament and senators, they still give themselves bonuses. And then you start wondering how we are in a very big debt as a country. Did you know that the Kenyan debt is more than 12 trillion? 12 trillion. That means that we will pay and pay and pay until we run out of money in our pockets. Because the debts never seem to, and I'm not saying that it is a bad thing, because America has a debt deficit of about $36 trillion. And in Kenya, we have a deficit of 12 trillion. So if I do a rough math, then that comes to about $130-something billion compared to the American debt, which is $36 trillion. Now, the funny thing that I used to ask myself, who are we owing this money to as a world? You hear that the world is in a deficit of about 60 or I don't know 120 something trillion, and you're like, who are we owing this money to? Are we owing the money to Mars, Jupiter? And then I had to do my research, I had to read, and then I realized that the world was meant to work that way. There are some people who came up with that formula where we have to live in a debt. The importance of a debt, it helps us work towards achieving something. Now imagine that the world didn't have debts, countries didn't have debts. There will be no competition, there will be no balance of books. Now, another issue that I want to talk about. Our dear president, our good president, Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto, went to Makueni yesterday. And I wondered, because imagine in this country, in this day, age and era, there are people who have no access to electricity, and there are people who have no access to television and radio. Because I do not understand how a woman said that he doesn't know the president and he has never seen him. And the leaders there were laughing. And I wondered, do the leaders realize that what this lady is saying is the country is still in a dark period? And when I speak about a dark period, I mean in development. Because if that lady had the television, had the radio, or had electricity, then he would have at least heard about the president in some way. But because he has no access to these equipments, he has no ability to know that there is a president in Kenya, or he has no ability to know who is the president of Kenya. He just hears we have a president. And these are one of the moments that you have to sit down and ask yourself, where is the country heading to? Because the funny thing is, the president and the whole team was there to launch development. Now, how can you launch development when the people that you're going to launch development to do not see the development that you're launching? And I'm not saying that the president has not done development, because I used to believe that SHA is not working. Then one day I went to the hospital and I realized that SHA is working perfectly. And the president is trying so much. He has done a very good job. And I can say that at least if you do understand how he operates, then you will realize that he's doing something. But if you hate him from the hearsays and the rumors, then you will realize that maybe, as per you, the president is not doing anything. But when I went to the hospital, I realized SHA works so much, and it works great. Another thing that works was the Fuliza. No, not the Fuliza, the Hustler Fund. Because I'm a beneficiary of it, and I have, in fact, I have a debt with them. I don't know if I have a debt. Do I have a debt? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I paid it. And another thing I saw is I saw one of the people that I know get the Nyota Fund. And I'm not saying this that I'm praising the government or I'm praising the president. Where we have to give due congratulations, we give. Because however much you pretend that you can't see it, others can see it. So what I'm saying is, at least, let us make Kenya developed. And once we develop our country, everyone will be wishing to come to our country. And once they start streaming into our country, then we shall have that chance to grow as a nation. I do not understand why you steal money from Kenya, whether through corruption or whatever way you get it, and then you take the money out to develop in other countries. That is a very big deficit. That is one of the worst deficits we can have in a country. Because when you take that money and invest in another country, the money is never coming back. And that makes the money circulation in Kenya difficult. Because the money that you took is out. It is not circulating in the economy. It is circulating outside the economy, while it was meant for our economy. So, however much these people, because corruption seems never to end, and most of the people do not realize that because they feel like one day corruption will end. I don't see it happening that way. Why am I saying that? Because I think we have very toothless institutions, such as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption, which is a very toothless institution. I do not understand how you can use 12 million to regain 6 million. Yeah, that is one of the worst months that I've ever seen. Or you see these institutions that they charge you depending on which political side you lie. And I think that is one of the worst things that we have in the country. Because if today you woke up and supported the government, then you'll be clean. Or if you supported the person in power, then you'll be clean. And if tomorrow you woke up and changed your tune, then you have a case to answer. And I'm not saying that is what is happening in this government. But let us speak as things are. It has been happening over the years, not with this government, but over the years. You are clean, or you are safe depending on which side of the government you lie. In developed countries, things don't work that way. And that's why I envy countries such as Japan, China. However much powerful you are, you can be charged in a court of law. The other day, I saw the former president of France was charged and he was jailed. Though he has appealed, after 3 weeks in prison, he is out. And I thought, if Africa could be this way, where we charge people depending on their mistakes, not depending on which political side they lie. That got me thinking, why do we spend so much in toothless institutions, the ESCs of this world? Because we cannot say as a country now, and this is what was confirmed by the former president of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. He said at that time Kenya was losing 2 billion per day. 2 billion per day. Now 2 billion times 365 days. Check that math and realize how much we lose annually. But at the same time, we have an institution that deals with corruption. Now, I've seen the new ESCs trying, because I always see it differ with the ODPP in withdrawing cases, and it says, no, we can't continue with that way. People have to answer cases. Because today the ODPP will wake up and say, you have no charges against you, you have charges against you. And the ESCC will ask them, on what basis are you withdrawing this case? Because on our side, we have the corruption case against this person. So I want to say that ESCC has tried, and it has made it great. At least it has changed its view. But look at how much we lose. 2 billion times 365. That is enough money to develop Kenya into one of the fastest growing economies. I just always wish that everyone had the goodwill. At least if you are to get yourself rich, improve the economy, and the economy will make you rich. If everyone could follow that, then we could be a better country, and we could be a great country. But if you improve your pockets and fail the economy, the first thing is the country's shilling against the American dollar becomes useless. Why? Because without enough money circulating in the country, then the government will be forced to print more money. And what happens when a country prints money? Take a case of Zimbabwe. You can use more than $1 million in Zimbabwe to buy only a loaf of bread, meaning it has lost its value. So however much we do think that by failing the economy or failing the people that live in it, then we are wrong. Because when you fail the economy, you are failing yourself too. And guys, that is a simple economy dynamic that I'm viewing this angle with. What you should realize is this: when the economy fails, everything fails in the country, and the cost of living becomes hard. It becomes difficult for people to live in that country. So at least, and I always say this, at least always make sure that the number one thing that is not affected by corruption is the economy. Let the economy boom. Let companies come in, not go out. Because with a bad leadership and a bad leadership that comes up with bad policies, then the country is going to lose a lot of people who could have invested in the country, and who choose to go out there and invest in those other parts of the world. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, in this session that we have spoken about how leadership is and how leadership should be done, I turn my eyes to something. And the thing is this: our neighbors, Tanzania. What is going on? What is going on in Tanzania? I just want to know, because there is no way that it was reported, and it's officially reported. It is not something that is new. It is not something that is going to catch anyone by any way by surprise, because it has been confirmed that more than 700 people have been killed in Tanzania. And I always ask myself, how sweet is power that others are ready to kill others for it? How sweet is power? Because if power is that sweet, that people are willing and are ready to make sure that others do not have life for it, then I can assure you in Africa, there is a lot of gain in power. But I always look at what people are fighting for. And I went and did a deep study of what people are fighting for in power. The first thing is always they are fighting for money, 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 and money. The more positions you attract, the more money you get. That is why you will always see that a member of parliament, a governor, a senator, he gets into a position of leadership. Within a year, he has mansions, he has businesses, he has choppers. And you ask yourself, how rich is power? And you want to ask yourself, why are people fighting for power? Really? If you see a member of parliament, within 1 year, he has made enough development, more than is needed, and not developing the constituency, developing his pockets and his generation. It is so funny that even memes came out that me winning the position of power, or people thinking that I'm going to help them, only for them to realize I am making enough wealth for my 9th generation. And that tells you how much power is sweet in Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the episode for today, and I hope that we shall meet again the next time. For those who have not subscribed, please subscribe, like, comment, and share this show. It takes a lot of effort to come up with a show, so please just do that, and we shall be well. Thank you. Bye bye.